Yo, what's good, YouTube? In today's video, I'm giving you guys my top 5 meta loadouts you guys need to be using. If y'all enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like for the algorithm, subscribe with notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, so for our first gun here today, we're going to be getting into the MTZ-556. This is a banger gun with very little recoil, great damage range, pretty much all the above. Fantastic for resurgence and, of course, big map. So first thing here is going to be the muzzle. We're going to go through on the quartermaster suppressor. This is a pretty standard attachment here nowadays. We don't really have to switch out the quartermaster on realistically any of our builds. Just the quartermaster is the go-to muzzle attachment. No reason to run a compensator, run that 735, run anything else like the the VT7 Spearfire, which we used to run quite a bit. No reason to run any of that. Just go down here and run the quartermaster. After that, I'm gonna go to the barrel section. We're gonna go through on the MTZ Clinch Pro barrel, not the Drifter Heavy Long barrel. I know there is a little bit of confusion, and I'll break it down here real quick on which one to use. So we can see we get a nice 28, and 15% increase, and our effective damage range being 52 meters is pretty crazy. That's pretty stout, and honestly, that is farther than just about every other assault rifle in the game. But if you go over here to the Clinch Pro barrel, 49.3 meters is what we get for our first one, but we can see we get a nice 21, and 26% increase. Notice the bullet velocity increase is 26%, getting us to 903 meters per second, versus this is only going to be 15%, keeping us down in the 800s, the mid to low 800s. So overall, you're going to be perfectly fine having 49.3 meters as opposed to 52. You'd much rather have a little bit faster bullet velocity and an extra couple meters of damage range when you're already way out there past the STG range, which is basically the #1 meta AR in the game. So no reason to go for anything farther. It doesn't make sense. After that, underbarrel section, we're gonna go through on the Bruin Heavy Support Grip. This is fantastic. I really enjoy running this. You guys can run this, or if you want to be a little bit more mobile, what does actually work pretty nicely is the paracord grip. This gun has very little recoil, so you can actually get away with running the paracord grip on here, but otherwise stick to the Bruin Heavy. You guys will pretty much be good to go. No reason to switch it up too much between the paracord, Bruin Heavy. You realistically can't go too wrong. After that, magazine section, to throw on the 50 round mag here. Of course, this is the only reasonable option in here. The 30 round mag is not reasonable. I don't know how many people I've convinced out of not using the base 30 round mag in their build, but basically the extended magazine is going to be your go-to. Like, you have to use the extended mag. I don't really know why. It doesn't matter if you're playing solos or anything else like that. Always go for the extended magazine on pretty much like 99% of your builds. On like, maybe there's the rare occasion where a gun doesn't need something like an LMG, we don't have to throw in a big mag, but overall, ARs, SMGs, all that stuff, even sniper rifles, sometimes you do need the bigger magazine. So 50 rounds right there. And of course, our last attachment is going to be a stock, since we're going to be utilizing the beautiful iron sights for this thing. That's one of the reasons it's so nice, is the iron sights are fantastic, super clear. You can be pretty aggressive with it and hit some decent shots at range. But we're going to go through on the MTZ Marauder, which is going to be giving us great gun kick control and recoil control at the cost of a little bit of our mobility. Not too big of a deal. All we really care about is just getting a little bit better recoil control. And of course, the MTZ Marauder stock will give us just that. And this will give us a banger build for the MTZ 556. Next up, we're going to be jumping in here to the FJX Horus. This is a really good close range option. Pretty much if you're not using, the Superior 46, the Static HV, the FJX, or the Striker for that matter, you're going to be a little bit kind of out of the meta in terms of, guns that are really good. This has an incredibly high fire rate, which kind of makes up for sometimes its bit lack of damage range in comparison to some of the other SMGs, but we're going to go ahead and make it as good as it possibly can be. So that being said, first attachment here, as I was just saying earlier in the video, is going to be pretty standard, the quartermaster suppressor, and so we're going to be using that for our first attachment. After that, barrel section, we have a couple options in here, but basically there's only about 2 which are going to be good. So we have the Martis Heavy, which is good for your gun kick control. We used to run that a little bit, but you can see your effective damage range being 8.6 meters is actually pretty pitiful. It's pretty bad. So we're gonna go for the SID 9 long barrel here, which pretty much is not going to do us any benefit to our recoil control, but it pushes us out to almost 10 meters just by itself, which is really good. Also helps our bullet velocity tremendously, makes it so that your gun's going to be so much more effective at close range, as opposed to running the Martis Heavy. If you're running that, you're definitely going to want to switch over to the SID 9 long barrel. After that, we're going to go down here, skip the underbarrel section, go straight to the ammunition, and we're going to go throw on the 9mm high grain rounds. So this is actually pretty crucial. And you can see that we get a nice 15% across the board increase, which is nice. Still doesn't kind of match up with your static, your super-y, stuff like that. But overall, because the fire rate is 983 rounds per minute, which is significantly faster than your Superior 46, your static, all this sort of stuff, So you can kind of get away with having a little bit less effective damage range because you're getting so many extra bullets out in comparison to what the other guns that you're going to be going up against are. So it kind of does, you know, even out, factor out like that. You have more chances to be able to miss and still hit your shots. So that's another, you know, benefit of having a high fire rate gun, is that you still can miss a couple extra shots and be okay. But overall, the high grains are the way to go. Magazine goes down here, and so you can see, you know, we have the 48 and the 60 round mag. But if we go over here and we take a look, you scroll back and forth between the two of them on the 48 and the 60, you'll notice that the 48 and the 60 have the exact same penalties. So if you take that in mind, you're like, whoa, 48 versus 60, there's only one reason, only one thing you should be running, and that's the 60 round mag. Like, I'm a 60 round mag kind of guy, so I like to go for that 60, but overall, I mean, it's got no extra penalties. So why would I, you know, have 12 less rounds in my magazine just for maybe a look or something? It's like, no, we always go for the 60. There's no penalties. It's like one of the only guns in the game where it's like that, so you should always be going for this. After that, we're gonna go for our last attachment in the stock. You guys could probably switch this out for like an optic if you really want to. You'll be a little bit less mobile, but if you don't like the iron sights, which is totally understandable, I'd probably go for something, you know, throw on like jack glasses, and this basically can be your full build right here. But overall, if you'd like the iron sights or can deal with them, I'd go for the Ripper light stock, which is going to help you just be a little bit more mobile here. And it's not going to mess your gun kick all that much. The only downside is, like I said, the iron sights aren't the greatest. I don't like them that much, but I can deal with them but if I'm trying to make, you know, the most optimal build for a gun. So this is gonna be my full build right here for the FJX Horus. Next up, we're gonna be giving you guys a build here for the MCW. I actually did use this as a conversion for the MS-85, the Black Ops 6 gun. It's actually very similar, but overall the build is actually going to be, you know, quite different in order to make it proper, you know, MCW super long range meta. It will compete here with your STG. First attachment, of course, is the Quartermaster suppressor. Don't gotta spend too much time on that. We're just gonna be running the Quartermaster. After that, the barrel section, we're gonna go through on the 16.5 Cyclone long barrel. This gives us a nice increase to our bullet velocity range, aiming auto sway, firing aiming stability. And of course, we see our detailed statistics here: 15, 18% increase, which is absolutely incredible. It gives us a nice 885 meters per second in bullet velocity, which we are still going to increase that more. You don't have to worry about recoil control stuff because the MCW has very, very little recoil. It's a gun that you can pretty much get away with having almost no recoil based attachments besides a suppressor and be entirely okay. After that, we're gonna go down here to the ammunition side of things, and this will increase your recoil, but the high grain rounds, I mean, this right here pushes you out to being better, pretty much better, or if not a slightly just under so the STG. So the STG at maximum is like 49.3, which are at 48.7, and our bullet velocity is over 1,000, which is basically right where give or take the STG is going to be, depending on one of the 3 barrels you choose from. So overall, I mean, this is a really solid gun right here, and of course the fire rate is, I believe, a little bit faster than the STG as well, so you can be definitely beaming people at range. Magazine, we're gonna go throw on the 60 round mag here. I would actually tell you guys, I ran the 40 round mag for my video when I made the Black Ops loadouts, and the 40 round mag's not bad. It's really not all that bad because it's not like this is like a 900 round per minute fire rate gun. But overall, I'd still say if you're trying to make this like truly like meta, make it the best it possibly can be, 60 is going to be the way to go. It helps you more often than not when you're playing trios and quads, even duos and stuff like that, or solos. I still think 60 is the way to go for this gun. Maybe solos you could get away with the 40, but other than that, you should just be running the 60. Lastly, we're gonna go to the optics section and throw on the Jack Glassless. I prefer to run this on, like, if I'm running high grain rounds, I prefer to go for the Jack Glassless. If I'm not going to be running high grains and I have a recoil based attachment, I could go for something like that Koryo Eagle Eye 2.5x, which is really solid. But overall, I think just because you get a tad bit more recoil with those high grains, the Jack Glassless stabilizes the gun out just enough to the point where it's still entirely very, very little recoil or very low recoil. We can still beam people at range. So this is my full build here for the MCW. Now let's hop in here to a build for one of the more underrated SMGs, that being the Striker. The Striker is criminally underrated, and I don't see a lot of people using it. They just go static, supery, stuff like that. But where's the Striker? The Striker is like literally a meta SMG, but people don't use. So first attachment here, Quartermaster suppressor. After that, barrel section, we're gonna go in here. We're gonna throw on the Striker Recon long barrel. So not the elite long barrel. This is actually the barrel that is on the ground loot Striker, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have used. Even, I mean, not maybe during, you know, Rebirth, Resurgence, Supreme, which had all the really cool variants and stuff like that. But pretty much the regular ground loot one that's been really solid for a lot of people is the Striker elite long barrel. The downside is that, like we can see here, We get all of our effective damage range, we get a recoil control, but we don't need that. All we need basically is the effective damage range, because the gun has very little recoil to begin with, so we get more range. And I believe, yeah, just 2 meters less bullet velocity, actually even less than that. Wow, it's 655.5 versus 653.9. So basically it doesn't make a difference in your bullet velocity, but it gives you more range and also makes you faster, because you're not slowing yourself down here with these other, you know, cons and stuff like that. So overall, this is a much better option for trying to build out a proper striker close range build. After that, underbarrel section, a couple options in here, realistically speaking. The Jack Slash, I've seen a lot of people really like that. You can run this on basically any of your SMGs. I've actually ran this more specifically on the Static HV. That was pretty solid, but I think I kind of reverted back to the DR6 hand stop. So you can run the Jack Slash on here. That's gonna be perfectly fine. You can run the XRK Edge if you want a little bit more of that strafe speed back and forth in your ADSing. That's pretty solid, just to kind of be a little bit aware that based on like how much strafe speed you get, it can cause the iron sights to bounce around a little bit, which is not the greatest. So test that out in the firing range and kind of, you know, strafe back and forth. Overall, my go-to pick is going to be the DR6 hand stop. It gives me a little bit, just it makes me real fast, gives me enough strafe speed, not too much to the point where my iron sights start jiggling around. So I really enjoy that. And then overall, also you can choose the paracord grip, which would be a good option to use. So you can't go too wrong based out of these like 4 grips that you can choose, these underbarrels. Paracord, DR6, XRK Edge, Jack Slash. A little bit up to you guys what you want to do with this one, but for me, DR6 is the way to go. Magazine, we're gonna go through on this 48 round mag. I believe the 48 is definitely the move on this thing. No reason to go for the 60. Listen, I love a 60, but it's not needed. It slows you down too much, and because this gun, it's got a 645 round per minute fire rate. It's not like it's a super fast fire rate gun, and even then 48 rounds is still perfectly fine. Like that's a good amount of ammo for a secondary. So I believe that this is totally fine, and that 48 is all you realistically need. So we're just gonna go for that. Lastly, in the stock section, we're gonna go throw on the no stock attachment. And when you combine all these attachments I've given you here, even though you have the no stock, which should, by the cons, increase your gun kit controller, like, you know, make your recoil worse, it really does not do. You can test it out in the firing range. If you don't want to do that, if you feel like it increases it a little bit too much, messes with your aim, go for the Lockman MK2 light stock, which will still give you movement, but it's not going to mess your recoil hardly at all, or it's not even going to be noticeable because we have, you know, the quartermaster suppressor, which will totally offset any and all penalties. So we have the no stock, which is going to be my preference, but like I said, Lockman MK2 will work great for some of you guys out there that may be struggling with some recoil. But that's my full build there for the striker. And last but definitely not least, I want to give you all a build here for the Pull-My-Out 762, and not using the conversion kit. This is the base Pull-My-Out, which got quite a significant buff here, and it's like in the season 5 reloaded update, but I still don't see hardly anyone running around with the Pull-My-Out as their primary gun, which is kind of a little bit weird. Maybe it's because I play a lot of Rebirth and running around with something like the STG, MTZ, maybe a little bit better mobility wise. But overall, this thing hits like a truck, and you guys are gonna have to try this. So first thing is the quartermaster, like always. After that, barrel section, pretty much what we need to use here is gonna be the ST Pyro Heavy Barrel. This gives us the most amount of increase to our bullet velocity, all that sort of fun jazz. We don't care as much about the movement penalties. This is our long range, you know, LMG. LMGs aren't known for being very mobile, and particularly the Pull-My-Out's not very known for that anyways. Maybe if you have that conversion kit on there, I believe it actually makes it significantly more mobile, kind of more like an AR. That's definitely not the most effective way to run this thing, so we're going to be using the Pyro Heavy Barrel with no conversion kit. After that, we're going to go down here to the ammunition side of things, and we're going to go all the way over. We have to scroll down a little bit, but we're going to go for the MMR high grain rounds. Basically, scroll down, you're going to find them. They're there. But increase in bullet velocity and damage range. We take a look at this. Now we're right out there. Pretty much like the gold standard nowadays is, you know, almost 45 plus, you know, meters of effective damage range, just about that. And your bullet velocity has to be around 900 to 1100 meters per second. So we're right up in there, which makes you competitive with absolutely everything out there. And this is a very easy to control gun. You can hit a lot of your shots. Fire rate's a little bit on the slower side, so that's a bit of a downside. It can be a little bit more penalizing. You start missing a lot of shots, but overall, you should be totally fine. This thing hits like really hard. After that, optic section, we're gonna go through on the Jack glassless optic. This is my preference here on the optic. Don't believe you need something like a Choreo Eagle Eye. You can try it out for yourselves. I just found so much better success from the Jack glassless I feel like as soon as I'm out of the range of the Jack glassless, that's the point in which I need to get closer to somebody or just re-engage or find somebody else. I mean, there's no reason for me to like try to beam somebody way across the map. They're just out of my effective range. So we're just gonna go for the Jack glassless here. And lastly, to stabilize this thing out, we're gonna go for the Ivanov Woodstock, which will tremendously help you out here. Gun kick control, recoil control, and of course firing, aiming stability. Nice 21, 4, and 4%. It messes with you ever so slightly in your overall mobility. Not that big of a deal. This is just definitely the best way to run this thing. So that's been my build. That's been my top 5. You guys enjoyed this video, give it a like for the algorithm, subscribe, notifications turned on, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see you all next time.